Welcome to the HubSpot Top 5, where every month I highlight some of the most interesting use cases from some of HubSpot's best and brightest users from around the world. This is the third month we've done this now, and submissions continue to amaze me. I maintain my opinion that HubSpot users are some of the cleverest, most creative, and resourceful people there are. Today, in the 5th place, we have a HubSpot employee. Nathan DeLong is showcasing how you can add a SKU property to tickets and then use some workflow magic to deduplicate and notify people. I would call out that even if SKU isn't relevant to you, you could use this same logic in a variety of ways. So check this out and see what inspiration you can get.
Hi, my name's Nathan DeLong, and I'm a Senior Solutions Engineer here at HubSpot. Today, I just wanted to give a quick demonstration of a workflow that I've put together for tickets here in my demo portal. So, as you can see, I have my tickets with a ticket name. I've got my ticket ID column pulled into this view, and then I have a custom property that I've added onto my tickets called SKU. SKU is just a place where I'm recording a series of letters and numbers. These could be, for example, product IDs, like, for something that I sell. They could really be anything that you want them to be. But the key thing here is I want HubSpot to notify me if a ticket gets entered for a SKU that already has tickets associated with it. So as you can see here, I have a couple tickets for this SKU A, B, C, D, E, F. I want HubSpot to notify me, right, when that second ticket for A, B, C, D, E, F comes in. The same thing for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want HubSpot to notify me when I have additional tickets coming in for that same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 SKU. I have another one here. The SKU is ZZZ. I don't have that anywhere on another ticket already. But just to show you how this would work, if I go ahead and create a ticket, and I'm just going to call this SKU ticket 8 for the ticket name. That is just how I'm keeping these sort of straight in my demo portal. Let's go put that SKU ZZZ onto this ticket. And then, of course, I can give it any kind of description that's necessary, any kind of source that makes sense to me, or whatever other fields I am entering as I'm creating tickets. Let's go ahead and say our create date is today. Obviously, I can associate this with a contact or with a company. I am going to go ahead and associate this one with a contact, just so that, again, just so that I have clean data. But really, the important thing here is this property for SKU. Again, what I want to have happen because of the workflow, I already had that ticket 7 that had this same SKU. Now that I have another one being put into my portal with that same SKU, I want to get an email notification about that. And that's an email notification that, again, I could go ahead and have sent out to whichever users in my portal I need to receive that information. So what I'm going to go ahead and do really quick is pause this video while I wait for that workflow to run, and then I'll be right back with you. All right, so here we are. It's been about 60 seconds, and you can see this is the email that I have now received. A ticket has been entered for duplicate SKU, and then I get that ticket ID and whatever the duplicate SKU was. I could also include other fields or other properties from that ticket here as well in my email, but in this case, this is just how I've set up the email. Now, if I go ahead and hit my View in HubSpot button, that should take me over to the ticket for this particular SKU. And of course, that'll just be one moment while that goes ahead and loads up for us. As long as my internet is cooperating with me. All right, so here we are. Here's that ticket that we just created, that same SKU there. And again, if I want to identify these, I can always go to the list view, filter by SKU, see all the ZZZ tickets. In this case, because I just entered that other one, here it is right at the top of my list. just to take a look at that workflow really quickly, this is something that will require Operations Hub Pro. And all that Operations Hub Pro is really enabling me to do in this case is to say, I need to add in something to HubSpot that we don't have a workflow action for, but I can program it, right? So I'm saying when a ticket is created, run what we call some custom code. And that custom code, you can see it over here too on the left side of my screen. But what that custom code is doing is it's reaching out to our HubSpot API and taking from that SKU or from that ticket that we just created. It's going to take that SKU property and search for any other tickets in my portal. And if it finds one, it's going to say true. And if it doesn't find one, it's going to go ahead and say false. And then as you can see down here, if that evaluates to true, then we're going to send that email. If it evaluates to false, we're just going to stop right there. We don't need to notify anybody. This would be the case of it's the first time that particular SKU has appeared on any ticket.
Thank you, Nathan. In fourth place, we have Justin Givens talking about how to use files in your HubSpot CMS website. And this is so totally beyond me. I'm sort of a noob when it comes to CMS anyway, but that's kind of why we do this. I am amazed at the breadth of knowledge and the depth of knowledge of people using HubSpot. If you're using HubSpot CMS, check out this wisdom from Justin.
Hey everybody, it's Justin Givens over at Image in a Box. I want to show you how you can upload a file to the root directory of your HubSpot CMS website when you need to validate for an external SaaS product or even a software or even something like Google Search Console if you don't have DNS access. The way to do that is they're going to give you a file, a .txt file or something to that nature. So just go to your marketing section, go to files and templates, and then click on files. I've got this simple one here. What I like to do is click on details, change the domain over to your main root, set your public to non-index. I don't like to index it for no reason. In that sense, if I copy that URL, you will see that I have it here. But when you use the file storage, it adds the Hub's file storage URL. Doesn't work well, but a quick and easy trick that you can do is add a domain redirect, say standard, put in the original URL you want, which is without the hubs, redirect it to the hubs, and when you click on more options, you want to proxy. This will make it where it looks like the page. This only works when you have the domain and the file hosted on the same system in HubSpot. But they won't be redirected, and it will send back whatever the little proxy code is in those files that they use.
Thanks so much, Justin. Now on to third place, Mitch Richards. And I love this submission for so many reasons. First of all, it's just a really cool solution, as you'll see in just a minute. But I also love that Mitch apparently collaborated with Shadab, which I love when admins get together and collaborate with each other. Such magical things happen. But I think my favorite part about this is Shadab came up with a solution, and Mitch looked at it and was like, that does what I want it to, but it's too complicated. I'm going to simplify this. So check out how he avoids the need to custom code something and uses just formatting data actions inside of workflows to get what he needs.
Hey guys, it's Mitch here with a HubSpot hack for you. So you might be in a situation where you need to calculate a contract renewal date based on two inputs, a close date, and then what I've got here, which is a term for the service. So what this is that this is a 36-month contract, but I want to save my sales team a little bit of time, and I just want to calculate the renewal date for them. You need Ops Hub to do this, and I'm going to show you how you would go about doing that right here. So I've built my workflow. I've got my enrollment criteria at the top. Close date is known. Estimate term for the service is known. The other stuff is just a few things that are unique to my use case, and I've just popped this in here just so that we can test it with one record, so we're not breaking everything. First thing you need to do is input this formula, and this comes from Shadab Khan. So this is a real joint enterprise. He's based over in India. I'm based in the UK, but we worked on this a little bit together, and he sent me this script essentially to take my close date and then turn this estimated term for service, this numerical property, into a month output, so that we're then summing those two things together, which we've got right here. When Shadab was testing this, he was able to populate his next date property with that input. I was having some problems, and I found out that the problems were because this outputs a date time string, and you're only able to create date pickers property types within the HubSpot UI. You need to use the API dev tools to create a date time property. I didn't want to do that, so I had a little bit of a look in here, and I figured out that actually what you can do is if you just convert that output into a Unix timestamp, selecting date, that then formats that data so you can pop it into a date picker. So you don't need to use the dev API to create a date time property for you. And that's it. Let's see it in action. So let's just turn that on. We're going to enroll the deal record that we want to put in there. And then with any luck, this will then populate for us. Cool. Okay, guys, so I just cut that quickly just to speed up the process, but you can now see that my contract renewal date's been populated. I can see my close date, term for the service, and then boom, the renewal date. 36 months out from there, and then we can just check to see. There you go.
Thanks so much, Mitch. Now in second place. Before we get there, let me just ask you, what are some of the most daunting, scariest HubSpot features you can think of? Programmable email, custom objects, how about exchange rates, how about translating things into multiple languages? What if I told you there was a real-life solution for a real-life HubSpot customer that combined all those things and more into a single email flow? Well, that's exactly what Bob Baum has done. He's way smarter than I ever hoped to be, and I hope you pay attention as he shows you how all these things can work together to give such personalized attention to the people receiving your emails.
Hello everyone, here is my submission for the HubSpot Top 5. My name is Bob, I am with Gradient. We are a Dutch B2B marketing agency, and this is a case that we built for one of our clients that uses custom coded email modules as well as programmable email beta, custom objects, and operations hub. The use case is, this is a company that buys and refurbishes and then resells used forklifts. And what they have as part of their marketing efforts is a daily newsletter that shows the latest arrivals in stock. And every machine that they get obviously is unique, so we cannot leverage HubSpot products for this because they are non-perishable, basically. So the first thing that we did is get all of the machine data into HubSpot as a custom object. This is a daily feed that comes in from an external database, and we store all kinds of details: the machine name, engine type, mass, capacity, and so on. So that just gets fed into the system. And one of the things that gets stored on this is the date of arrival, or the date that it became in stock. And we use that to feed our email module. This is the email that gets sent. As you can see, there's a little text above it, which is hard-coded in there. There's a reason for that, because we want to be able to translate it as well. And then it automatically populates this email with the machines that were added to the stock today. With this module, I am also able to, because that's not the only application that we have for that module, we also use it to send out weekly specials. So I can switch the application. It's a Dutch for application, for something else. There's a weekly specials, which is basically the same principle, but it just shows the ones that are currently on sale. If I go into my daily supply or daily new stock email, however, you can see that I can also change the currency that is displayed. So right now it's set to euro. If I set it to anything else than euro, what I can do also is put in an exchange rate. So I use a comma notation. So 1.4, for example, will multiply the price. As you can see, 2730. If I would put it back to euro, it's 19. So that's 1.4. So it does that as well. I can translate the whole thing into a bunch of different languages. So if I switch to, for example, German here, you can see that everything is translated. So that's the text on the top. It's the button. it is also the little text that indicates the engine type, for example, which is also handled by the code. And then I could switch off and on the price. So all of this is done through a custom email module. We look at that email module real quick. As you can see, there's those fields that you saw in the module earlier. And here's the code, which is the query that basically, based on the module type that is selected, will run a query for the custom object. So in this case, it says, all right, if it's daily stock is the module type, then it will run a query that says, get me all the machines where the daily stock email is true, catalog price is greater than 0, machine status is in stock and available on web shop is also true, and then fetch a bunch of fields. And then those fields are fed into the email module, or into the rendered code, basically, to display the pricing. And lastly, here's the workflow. There's another little ingenious bit in here, which is the use of custom code. The point here is that I only want to send that daily stock email if there are actually new machines in stock. Typically that should happen every day, but if it doesn't, then there's a safety here for whatever reason, if like the API crashes or something. Custom code that basically runs and then checks, are there any machines that meet those same query criteria that we use in the design manager? If not, then it will just end the workflow right there. And if it is, then it will send 2 different variations of that same email, one with the price and one without the price.
Thank you so much, Bob. And now, in first place, we've got a solution with workflows, and I've got to call out HubSpot. We put certain limits in place to protect, I guess, short-sighted people from making mistakes that could really compromise the integrity and performance of their portal, right? One of those limits is we don't want there to be any infinite loops inside a workflow. That could really cause a lot of problems, not just to the portal it's in, but to HubSpot as a whole. But sometimes you admins who are so smart and so far-sighted and so thoughtful and methodical about the way you approach things need a way to get around these limits. Sometimes you know what you want to do, you know how it needs to be done, and you have to find a way to get around those limits that are for people who are less thoughtful than you are. And you understand why the limit is there, and you understand why you need to get around it. That is exactly what Stuart Balcombe has done in this workflow, where he is creating a renewal pipeline with deals automatically created. He found a way to get around that limit and enable what he needs, and I think it's so creative and clever, and it's exactly the sort of admin mindset problem solving that I love to see in the HubSpot ecosystem. Check out this solution.
Hey, so in this video, I want to talk about creating a renewal pipeline in HubSpot to manage ongoing renewals beyond the point of initial sale. And I want to talk through the workflows and some of the properties that I set up in order to do that, because as I found out, it's not as easy as you might think. Essentially, what we're trying to do is say, when a deal moves to close one in our sales pipeline, we have a separate renewal pipeline also using deals, and we want to create a new deal there, and then move that deal through the pipeline. When it moves to close one, we want to create a new deal for the next year, right? So we're saying we have annual renewals. The first deal that moves over is going to be year 1, and then after that, we're going to go 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. The problem, though, if you do that in the way that you might expect, of just setting up a workflow that says when a deal moves to close one in our renewal pipeline, we're going to go ahead, create a new record, new deal, put it in the first stage of that pipeline, copy over all the properties, all that good stuff. You'd think that would work, right? But the problem, though, is that you get this message whenever you rerun that for the second time. So it'll be okay in year 1 because that deal was created by the workflow from the sales pipeline. It'll be okay in year 2 because that'll be the first time that this workflow is running in the renewal pipeline. But in year 3, it will fail, and it will give you this message that says the enrolled deal was created by this workflow, so we skipped over this action because we don't want to have an infinite loop. Totally makes sense, but it does mean that it's a little problematic, or we need a different way to go and solve this problem of creating deals for subsequent years. As you'll see here, I have this pipeline with some of these deals with, year 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. So what I did to get around that was, of course, I built another workflow. And actually, the workflow that I'm going to talk through is not creating the new deal. We'll get to that at the end. But it's setting everything up that we need to make sure that we don't run into that infinite loop issue. So the first thing that we're going to do, this is going to use OpsHub. The first thing that we're going to do is we are going to enroll a deal in this workflow. Essentially every deal that enters our renewal workflow, we're going to enroll, or enters our renewal pipeline, we're going to enroll in this workflow. First thing we're going to do is check. We have a property for renewal deal. The property is going to be created by, and there are two options. It's either created by the renewal workflow or it was created by a sales handoff workflow from the sales pipeline. If it was not renewal workflow, then it's an original sales deal. We're just going to copy some properties over to the company record to keep that up to date. But the one that we're interested in is if it is a renewal deal. So if it's not year one, first we're going to check that the renewal year property is known, because we need that to use later in the workflow. If it isn't known, we'll just set it to 1, set renewal year is even to false. Talk about that in a second. But then we get into how we're setting things up. There's two things that we're doing in this workflow. One is we are using some format data actions to dynamically update the name of the deal to include the current renewal year. And so to do that, we have this custom write property, which is getting the last value in the deal, which will be a number in our naming convention. So we need to grab that, because in the next step, we're going to cut that value, the number, off of the deal name. We save that deal name without the number into the deal name property. We use an increase or decrease action to increase the value of the renewal year property by 1. So it'll be 1 when it comes over from the sales pipeline. Each time we run this workflow, when it's not the original sales deal, it's going to go up 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. We're then going to append the renewal year to the deal name, which we had previously cut the year number off. So now we will have, deal name or company name renewal for year 1, or sorry, year 2, 3, and so on. Copy those property values to the company, and then here's the magic part. This is the bit that gets you around the issue with infinite loops. We are going to set a property on this deal based on whether the renewal year is divisible by 2. The reason for that is we want to set that property, which we have a property called isEven, to either true or false. So renewal year is even, gets set to true if the number was divisible by true. Otherwise, we're going to set it to false. We're just explicitly setting it to false here in case it was empty for any reason. But then once we have that, we can then have 2 workflows, and this is a little more complicated than I would like it to be, but you can then have 2 workflows for creating new deals in the pipeline. One of which is going to use the deal stage is close 1, and that renewal year is even property is false, and the other will use same thing, deal is close 1, but in this case, the renewal year is even is true. So it means you're alternating which workflow is creating the subsequent year's deal, which means that you never run into the case where the deal that you're trying to duplicate was created by the same workflow. So ultimately, we use this workflow to automate the creation of new deals in our renewal pipeline and make sure that everything is kept moving, up to date, updated on the company record, and ultimately in the right place when things come around again for the next year's renewal. We're also moving these deals through the pipeline automatically based on the number of days until their renewal date. So we really have everything that we need here to streamline the renewal process and help our team focus on actually getting the customer to the point where they're successful enough to renew, rather than focusing on moving data around in HubSpot.
All right, that's the HubSpot Top 5 for this month. Thanks to Stuart, Bob, Justin, Mitch, and Nathan for their submissions, and to everyone who has submitted, and to all of you who do such incredible work inside of HubSpot day in and day out. Please keep sharing the things you're working on so I can share it out with the world, and let's all learn together how to do incredible things in HubSpot. Have a great day.